Hi, welcome to a new episode of Richer in Crypto. My name is Rogier van Kuijk, and today you will be watching an interview with co-founder and CEO Stefan Hoerman at Yield Notes. I'm asking him all kind of questions about Yield Notes, the product, the company, the vision, all products that are being developed for the upcoming months to come. And of course, how sustainable the yields are, which are extremely high. The average yield over the last 3 years have been 9% per month, which is incredible. And therefore, of course, a lot of questions are asked. How sustainable is this yield? What is the risk of my investment? And will I ever see returns on my investment? So in this interview, I'm going to ask him all kinds of questions to get a more clear answer to those questions that we have. So I hope you will learn something from the interview. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments down below. And I'll, of course, look into it, the possibilities to get some answers from Yield Notes directly if those are required. So enjoy the interview. And if you want to skip certain questions, of course, you can check the timeline and skip right ahead to the part that you want to see. So the first question, Steve, is can you explain what Yield Notes does in a nutshell?
Okay, so we are a company that does masternoding and staking and is essentially evolved from its basics, which was just masternoding, by taking over a lot of coin projects. We have our own exchanges, our own ecosystem, but mainly what we focus on is staking and masternoding.
So can you explain what it means taking over currencies and projects?
During the previous bear market, already before this bear market that is obviously now in place, we found a lot of cool projects that were essentially dead almost, and we thought, what about if we masternode or stake or evolve coins that already had a small use case or were already developed, and we take those over for very little investment and build those out. And this was the stepping stone for us, because before we were just masternoding other currencies, and this was the birth of decenomy, of the decentralized economy, and where we really saw that this business model can elevate us from other companies that are just staking some coins and sharing those profits with the members. And since then, we have grown significantly in different coins. Like we have approximately 20 coins in our portfolio right now, where we can, put liquidity to it, remove liquidity, and balance this economy out that we're building. And so we have much more control over the market and the situation. And this is probably one of the reasons why Yield Notes is doing so well, even in the current bear market.
Yeah, so that means if you're taking over those projects, that means you're also hiring more developers, developing the projects on your own.
Project leaders, exactly.
Yeah, with new use cases. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. How is masternoding still profitable in the bear market?
In technical terms, or like if you look at it from the outside, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be profitable, but because we are working on the coins and the coin economy, and we are pushing people to adopt our coins with real use cases, our coins will remain relatively steady in value. If you look at SAPPHIRE, it has also gained strength during the bear market, and this is one of the reasons, because when you masternode or stake, you generate coins for participating in the coin economy. If the coins devaluate faster than the rewards that you are generating, then you're losing money. But since we are generating a lot of coins, but also work on appreciating the coins, we are generating good rewards even now in the less than optimal market conditions.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not magicians. We cannot like generate money when everyone is losing money indefinitely. So we are just losing less, if you can say it like this. We lose much less in a bear market that other companies lose, while we gain more during a bull market. So it's like a little bit of leveraged positions minus the risk of losing or getting liquidated, because we are not truly leveraged, if you catch my drift.
How can the value of a coin increase when all other coins are mostly decreasing in value?
It increases because we do a lot of promotions. We do a lot of partnerships, and people see that we are actually working on the coin case much more for, say, let's take for instance Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very decentralized, and no one is really at the helm of Bitcoin development. There's a lot of competing developers, a lot of competing companies that are working on it, but there's no clear direction. Like it's more a reflection of the market in itself. if you take SAPPHIRE, which is our lead currency, we have not only the developers, but we actually actively pursue adoption of it in a use case form. So we want it to be out there and be used in the real market, or to reflect assets that we are planning to bring into the market that are offline. So it's like a counter movement to DeFi, if you will. Decentralized finance is pushing value online, and you know probably from own experience that this is not working really well in a bear market, because the assets are not only hacked and stolen all the time, but it's also depreciating right now because the feds are stepping up and a lot of regulations coming in place. And we go the opposite direction by trying to allocate real business use cases like our battery and charging stations that are going to be with the coin called Mobolit, just to name an example. And these stations also reflect part of the value, because this is real life assets that can be found in real life. And so people that are buying these coins will know that a certain portion of the value is in real assets, and this strengthens the position.
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the reasons for us.
So you're turning a virtual asset into a almost physical one, because a charging station, maybe you have to buy a piece of land or rent a piece of land, but you put equipment on it, people use it and pay for it, and therefore the currency is connected to the investment used to get it live, right?
Exactly. And this doesn't even necessarily mean that you need to have like one-on-one value in offline to online. It's just a indicator that there's a business, and this business is growing and it's generating wealth, and this reward flows into the coin. And this alone is head and shoulders above what online companies do, essentially building a coin, giving the coin to the community and saying, okay, now you do with it, it's very technical, it's very advanced, go and use it for something. And this is usually where all the coins are kind of similar in the market, that some are technologically very advanced, some promise a great use case, but there's very little that has materialized out of yet. Even though blockchain technology is existing for over 10 years now, starting with Bitcoin. So the progress is just very slow.
And does it also mean the example that you gave by the charging stations, that how is the value of a token then connected to how well the charging stations are doing, for example?
You can use the token at the charging station, and we were also building the ideal scenario here is also that you can bring your car and use the battery of your car to unload it into the station and earn tokens back. So you can even use to transport electricity, because it goes two ways. Like they made for example, a study in Germany that said all the electric cars had enough power in them, like two atom, how do you call them? Electricity, atom reactors. There's a lot of energy stored in cars that you can also offload to a charging station to, encourage the transfer of electricity. And in the future society, this will probably be a boon, that because it's still a problem for electricity and for charging stations to congregate all the electricity in one place needed to charge a lot of cars, because the batteries are still limited, and the lines, especially the lines that are powering the stations, they're not strong enough. So you need to be able to transport electricity to different places, and with this model you can.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really nice. So I was wondering, if you're using master nodes and you get rewards every month because you're paying the rewards to your customers every month, how does that process work in relation to, do you sell the coins every month that you earned while noding, or how does that process work?
It's actually the secret sauce of the operation, and it changes a little bit, because sometimes when we need to pay out the withdrawals, we need to sell, because we pay out in Bitcoin. It's the easiest way, and it will not get blocked by bank accounts and fiat money. So we stay digital as much as we can. And if not, then we compound it. We keep the coins, or we reassess the landscape and we see which coin needs to be sustained, while which other coin is doing very well, where we can sell a little bit. And so we can balance out that market. We will try to keep all the coins at a good level, but if case the need arises, the investor in Yieldnos is always first. Like, this is our top priority, protect the investor capital. And then second step, it's then the coin economy. And yeah, this is how we do it.
Yeah, okay. So it's depending on the amount of withdrawals, and else you compound and you, yeah, okay, that's clear.
Exactly. Else you compound, or else we set up more nodes, so to speak. Which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
interesting that I wanted to mention to you is that we are taking also these operations, which is a first for us, in-house, meaning we are working on a big server farm in Germany because it's quite the center of Europe, has a great standpoint near Würzburg. And we used up until this point rented servers, but because we grow very big and we want to take charge of this operation, we are starting to install our own servers, mainly also because we do not want to be dependent on outside providers. So in the next newsletter that is coming out, I'm probably going to show a little bit of that operation. We took a few pictures, a few videos to share that. It's quite a big step.
Yeah, it's nice. And also, of course, gaining control, but it's also a lot of extra work if you have to manage it yourself. It's also a little bit more complicated.
But we already have like a team. We already have over 50 people working at Yield Nodes. So we have a few IT technicians and also good connections to Würzburg because my business partners is also from Germany. And so the IT there is quite strong and quite resilient. And yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Nice step forward.
I agree, especially considering, the regulation and the situation that is building around the full, like, I'm pretty sure you heard that Ethereum is going proof of stake pretty soon.
Yep.
But I think this is one of your questions, so I don't want to rush ahead.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah, I'm wondering if while yield nodes is growing and more people learn about yield nodes and get interested in yield nodes, you get more master nodes. Is there like a finite number of master nodes that you can have as a business from yield nodes?
We are in the grand scheme of things, we are still very tiny, Roger. And there's a lot of room to grow, and it's beneficial. We wouldn't be taking more investors and more participants if it wasn't beneficial to the coin economy, because adoption, more coin participants, more coins, more projects that intersect will keep the rewards high. So this is the reason why we do it. And because adoption of coins will give us also better use cases. If the economy of the coin, like we do the reverse that ICOs were doing. ICOs had an idea, they collected funds, and then they failed because they were just built on a promise and they had no reach in the market. We built the coins. We already gain reach by having followers, people that use the coin, exchanges that support these coins. And then the more we grow, the better actually the use case that is offered to us is, because it's much larger. And so we are basically constructing the economy and then add the use case to it in an inverse way, so to speak.
So let's say maybe the step to Ethereum, I think it's appropriate to ask it now, is that if yield nodes is growing, you have more investors and you can invest into a new currency, let's say Ethereum, because Ethereum goes to proof of stake. Is it thinkable that yield nodes will start masternoding in Ethereum?
Like privately, I would suggest to everyone to do that because Ethereum is a great currency and it's like the leading currency. But for the yield nodes business model, first of all, we are trying to masternode the coins that we have control over, so that we can put our team leaders and materialize these concepts. And second, because the reward, because it's already so big and so out there, the rewards will be probably too small compared to the payouts that we are striving to give to our participants. So,
yeah, but maybe they can also, if maybe the payouts are a little bit lower, but it's maybe more stable, or
we will definitely check it out. Like when it's out, it's not long now. I believe it's a matter of weeks until we are in the and see the returns and the rewards, and then we will for sure have an internal discussion to see.
How do you divide the investors' money onto which currencies you employ masternodes?
This is again a very, how shall I say, it goes into the company secrets kind of question. But most, like what I can tell you is most of the money is being masternoded and staked on SAPPHIRE because it's our leading currency and the strongest, like the flagship currency, the consumer coin, and essentially very stable. And smaller parts are going into all the other projects that we are going to build up. So, and this ratio is not fixed. This is not set in stone because we always need to measure. We have a few bots and a few structures in place that measure, the volume, the activity. And so we are checking where money is best deployed to set up the nodes. And we are willing to change them also. Sometimes, for example, when we see there's a lot of pressure on a coin and the coin use case is not favorable at the moment, or there's no good use case for that coin, we also do something called merging, where we put the coins together to increase the stability and have a better, stronger coin with a better community taking over. For instance, it's just an example, one of the many things that we can do.
I understand. So what is then a criteria of maybe selecting a new currency? At the beginning of the interview, you said we are currently using like 20 coins. I think on your website, it shows a little bit less maybe at the moment, last time I checked. So are you continuously looking for new coins to add to masternoding, or building on those 20 that you have currently in your portfolio?
We do, and we get a lot of companies or developers that ask for their project to be included. What we look for is that the coin should already have like a fan base, because new people joining the system is always good. So if there's already something developed, that's very beneficial. Then of course it's a matter of the price. If people want to just sell off their coins to us or their project, it's not going to be working, because we also need to do some internal restructuring. We are working with a protocol, an X protocol that is called PIVX, that we modified a lot so that we can stake and masternode the coin. We created our own wallets. We have a company in Portugal that is completely autonomous and is working to build on our technology, because we need to push the technology forward as well. And so we are changing the full coin structure and buildings to our security protocols and our standards. So this is also a big thing, if this is doable with the coin or not. If the value can be transferred is also a criteria. And so, and if all these fit, then we gladly take over, because it strengthens the decenomy network. When new people come along, that's seeing the vision that is behind decenomy, and they are also willing to masternode other coins or go with yield nodes or do both. We try to offer a lot of different angles and ways to support the economy, and to get the idea that this is truly something that is worthy being part of, while also helping everyone else who is in the program.
And if you take a look at the market capitalization of the different currencies that Yield Nodes offers masternoding into, if you look at CoinGecko, and that's also a question, the data from CoinGecko, it seems that a lot of market value of coins might not be up to date, or there's also a very low trading volume. What's that about?
This is also a point that is also with SAPPHIRE, why we are not currently ranked in the markets, because we work with a very small amount of exchanges at the moment, because the market right now is not very good in cryptocurrency, and we focus mainly on generating at the moment the rewards for our clients and building out the projects, getting more assets and building that slowly. Because right now, for example, going to more exchanges and increasing the volume is not beneficial, because it's a bear market. Bear market means a lot of pressure in selling constantly. So the more options you offer, it's actually giving you this, like I would like to call it, like it's a one ace card. For example, let's take it very directly, listing on Binance, which is everyone coin stream. Most of the coins do that. They fill out extensive paperwork, have the white papers ready. They pay a lot of money, because listing costs a lot of money. And they pay that, and then there's a big news coming out saying, okay, SAPPHIRE listed on Binance. You're not allowed to speak upfront that it's going to be listed. You need to keep silence according to the terms of the exchange, and only when it's listed, it's going to be made public by the exchange itself, in order to combat, insider trading. And when you do that, the usual reaction to this is a steep increase in price, like everyone is celebrating that, but right after followed by a even steeper sell-off. So because it's just in one moment an impulse, like a heartbeat up, and it crashes back down. And then there's a lot of selling pressure from these big places, because there's more opportunity for coin holders to sell it easy. And this creates added pressure. Plus, you need to supply these markets with coins. You need, for example, when you have SAPPHIRE, you need to SAPPHIRE that you put on exchanges for people to trade with is not masternoding and it's not staking. So you need to use a lot of the liquidity that you have, that you're using to actually generate more coins, and put that to no use into the exchange on hold for other people to buy and sell to.
Okay.
And this is also detrimental. This works well and it helps increase in a bull market. When there's a lot of interest, when people want to grow, then it makes sense. And this is why we step by step hold this back at the moment, because as you know, we are work in progress. This is why we are looking always for participants. And this is the reason why we are not like running crazily to get more exchange partnered with and increase the trading volume for now.
Yeah, so in the future, it's very thinkable that the currencies that you offer masternoding, most of them will be found on exchanges, maybe in 1 or 2 years to come, or further down the line when you're ready.
Correct, exactly.
When you can put like maybe a percentage of the total supply. If you're holding the total supply, if 100% is in possession of yield notes, and then you can say, well, maybe 20% will put on the market for to buy and to sell, to get, of course, market movement, which is also healthy. I think you also always need like a basic economy, right? You have demand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Demand and supply, and we need to work to increase the demand.
Yeah.
And have a good supply so that it's beneficial for all the holders.
And that's also probably related to what you're saying, that you need to have perspective on use cases, because if you invest into if it's a blockchain, a layer 1 blockchain, or maybe it's a layer 2 or utility coin or whatever, you need to have your use case. Why are you investing in this currency? Because what is the practical use of the token? And what is the value, right? Because
you should not run too fast. Exactly. When the use cases are materializing, there's no need for, to list the coins everywhere, try to get everything up and done, and then you have the use case not materialized when it comes, like when it's the time. So it's better that these two parts walk hand in hand. And
for example, I mean, I'm just thinking about it now. I think it's also a very interesting business case and use case, that if people can invest into a currency, and the money that you receive from people investing in the currency, owning that currency, you use that money to build those electrical supplies to charge cars, or to use the car's battery supply to charge something else, that you can use, like if somebody pays with their credit card or pays with that currency to charge their car, that somehow a part of the money flows back to investors. I mean, those are very interesting use cases, in my opinion. Then you can materialize where you're investing in. That's it's also a form of asset diversification, right? It's not just a digital token, but you can go to Germany, you can drive there, and you can stop and you can charge your car, and this is why I'm buying the token. I think that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. So the SAPPHIRE, the value of the SAPPHIRE token is going up also in the bear market. If you take a look at the chart, you can obviously see that's happening. Is the price stimulated by the project's participation on yield nodes, or are there other parties also buying SAPPHIRE? We do stimulate the price because it's beneficial to have a high price. However, SAPPHIRE is also purchased in large part by other investors that seeing it. SAPPHIRE is like almost it's a top 100 cryptocurrency from market capitalization. So people see that, they see the steady growth of the coin and the value. And it's also a great investment because you can stake it very easily. You download the wallet from the domain, from SAPPHIRE, and you load your coins onto the wallet. You activate staking mode and you keep it online 24/7. And that's essentially it. You're gaining approximately 50% of the value a year, which is quite nice, quite high, and you are strengthening the network. And it is a nice diversification to just having yield nodes, because in yield nodes you get your percentage, while here you can sell the coins and buy the coins at your leisure, at your own command. And this is very different, because sometimes, for example, SAPPHIRE could raise in value higher and you can earn more by having just SAPPHIRE. On the other hand, if we need to sell a lot of SAPPHIRE because we need to pay out a lot, the SAPPHIRE value will dwindle. So
it's a different way for you to diversify and to have more control while also understanding what we are doing in the process to secure the network. So it's quite nice.
And how does that work that you have to leave it online for 24/7? Does that mean that you need like a computer to keep it on to receive the staking?
Any PC will do. It can be really a very crappy Chromebook. It doesn't matter. It can be a Linux device. It just needs to have an internet connection 24/7. And the wallet needs to be open, and you need to disable the sleeping function of the laptop, that it doesn't, it can turn off the screen, but the laptop itself needs to stay functional, so that it doesn't log out of Windows or the OS that you are in. And then every 24 hours, you receive a reward right on the wallet for partaking in the operation. Automatically.
Nice. And how, I mean, it's a finite amount of SAPPHIRE tokens, or is it infinite?
It's a finite amount.
Yeah. Okay, so the staking rewards are now pretty high then, 50%, of course. It's not, so eventually the staking rewards will probably decline.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And you also said that you can then trade them on an exchange. That's probably then your own exchange. That's like Heliobank and bearmarkt, right?
Heliobank and bearmarkt, are the two main ones. There's also Graviex where you can use it, or StakeCube. It's another one. We have a few, but not yet big ones for the reasons that I told you before, because we're looking for further growth and we want to take it step by step. And this is imperative to not also lose control by going wild, spiking the price up, paying out, price falls down, and everything is over. This is not in the interest of our investors or us that are looking for a long-term business scenario here.
Yeah. So another question is that, let's say one of the 20 currencies is performing really, really badly. How fast can you switch to another currency with the masternoding? Because if you're masternoding a currency that's decreasing in value, of course, you probably won't earn as much to make the yields that you're currently making the last couple of years.
It has different strategies. Like one of it is, for example, we let the coin crash down and we buy it or masternode it at very low prices. And then when the coin use case comes back up or is becoming interesting, we put it in the limelight, into the spotlight. And then the value comes back very quickly, becomes very high. And then we essentially made a lot more coins at a lower price because we could generate more. And then this balances out that loss, for instance. Another way, if the community is really toxic, we can absorb the loss, merge the coin with another coin, take the good people over and build a new chain out of this to give it another go, for instance. Then we can strengthen the coin. If we have a surplus of assets, we can strengthen the coin and bring the value back up, increase confidence on the investor side and build that coin out. These are also different scenarios that mainly Urs, my business partner, is in charge of. He's the real architect behind Yield Nodes, and he's managing this manually with a team of workers. And in the future, the idea is that then an AI is going to solve the problem by overlooking all these coins and managing and holding the value steady with all the different strategies that have proven to be viable by a human.
Yeah.
This is a long way, of course. This is years out because we are working with an AI developer. But to get this, first of all, you need real life experience. This is what Urs is collecting by doing all of this, by managing the economy manually, and then to construct it so that it doesn't make any errors with all the bug fixing and stuff. This is also, so it's a little bit sci-fi for now.
So Steve, in what circumstance does an investor in Yield Nodes lose his or her investment, or partially?
Okay, this depends a lot on outside factors. Like there's two major dangers here. One is that the cryptocurrency market keeps declining and is slowly dissolving into nothingness, which we don't foresee and also don't hope, God forbid. But if the value, of all the coins are quite strongly correlated with Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin is keeps going on the downhill and is not recovering, then this can be one of the factors where there's partial losses can be happening. Another one would be hacking, because hacking is always a danger. Like we do think we are almost invincible kinda inside the company, because we do a lot of the tasks manually. For example, the yield notes program itself is managed in a very manual way. We have our payout day. On the payout day, the sums are being manually calculated. We are then sending them in with our scripts out, for example. Then the coins are managed manually. There is no DeFi protocol over it where it could get attacked. However, if, for example, you collect money on an exchange or you send money to an exchange, there's always this third party danger that something could happen there. For instance, the coins that are being held on an exchange to balance out volatile market situations could be lost. Some hacking could go on the exchange. So these are also some factors where there's some danger. The noding itself is pretty secure because every server has its own password and its own configuration. So it's different from other servers, meaning if one server gets hacked, we have thousands of servers in place that are all master noding and staking. So this is also a risk that is quite minimal, but I need to warn about everything. And yield nodes is still a very high risk operation, as I believe I say that in every interview, because it's very high. It's very important that people understand what they're getting into, that this is not like a bank account where you can put money and just remove with the dividends or the yield. And these risks are unfortunately there and they cannot be sugar coated. So while we do not see them coming to fruition, we do not see any of those really happening in the future. We still want to warn people and want to get that out into the market and get that out through interviews. So thank you for that question, because it's really important.
Yeah, so it means that, of course, the correlation with Bitcoin, we see that with all currencies. That's why the Bitcoin dominance is still over 40% as we speak. As long as, of course, investors stay invested in yield nodes, which gives you the opportunity to build out your currencies, to build out your exchange, build out your real life use cases and use cases of new or already existing coins, that of course gives you a strong basis that even though Bitcoin might have a harder time, and of course we are in a bear market, economic situation is terrible worldwide at the moment, but of course, like every crisis, there will be a pivot where we go up again. It's
Exactly.
just historically proven. So the question is when. So I always say and always think that in bear markets, it's time to build, right? And time to harvest is when the bull market is there, and then rinse and repeat. So like you said, so when a coin goes to zero, of course, if people withdraw their funds or ask yield nodes to take profit, you need to sell. And if the currency is low, then it takes more coins to sell. And that's, of course, a downwards pressure on your token economy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
This is still, we can influence that because, as said, we work very hard, even in the bear market now, even more so, as you said, in the bear market, it's a time to build. And so we work very hard to get our use cases to fruition and to show what has been done. But essentially, the best way to keep yield nodes performing as its best is obviously in a bull market. There will be also higher yields that we can disperse in a bull market. And we all count on that coming back. We all count on that. It might be a little bit further down the road, but still, this is because to us and probably to every major analytical person out there, what's the alternative? Like what is the alternative to cryptocurrency and to blockchain technology? There's paper money and there's credit cards, and neither is an ideal way to work. Paper money is getting forbidden by governments step by step because it's used to launder money. It's used for all kinds of illicit operations. Credit cards, you depend on a few credit card companies on. Banks already are almost, like for the common mortal, almost unusable by now because they start having so many regulations in place where you cannot move your money without being asked all kinds of sensitive questions. Where are you going to send it? Why are you receiving this? Have you checked that this money is clean and it's not coming from this and this? We are not willing to send money to China because China is, and countless questions like this. And this is really boxing you in slowly. And so the only way actually for people to regain freedom over their own monetary assets over their own net worth is crypto. So in our opinion, this is going to come back with a bang, like it did before already, like 4 or 5 times, if I'm not mistaken. It was always declared that, like all the crypto market was declared that many times, and it always came back stronger. Historically, it never produced a lower low. It always had a higher high on the next bull run, not wall run. And so we are quite optimistic, even though the market situation right now is dire, but the world is in a dire. There's the pandemic. It's all coming at the same moment, and it's all hitting us. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the rough part. It's not one issue. It's like multiple larger issues. Yeah.
Compounding off each other. Yeah.
So the next question is, what is the expected impact of the legislation for crypto, the MiCA law for 2024 to come? It's probably going to take a while to implement the new law and to observe it and enforce it. But what is your first impression of the lawmaking in 2024 and further down the line, and what the impact might be for yield nodes?
So we think on the long run, regulation is a good thing if it's implemented sensibly. But we think it's going to be an overreach, especially at first, because lawmakers tend to over-regulate an asset at first, and then they're gonna hopefully go back a little bit and don't penalize it so harsh, because like right now all the rules that are coming out are really completely off the charts in terms of what is being expected essentially from exchanges, And for instance, like the law that you need to declare every amount that you are spending from your hardware wallets. It's crazy, because this is essentially your wallet. It would mean, like in real life, each time you spend for going to the shop and for groceries and you spend some money, that you would need to declare that sum. And it's just not feasible. It's not doable by any means. It would produce so much paperwork and so much data that it cannot be checked, essentially. So there's a few of these obscure rules coming into place, and they will probably be eliminated further down the road. But it will require a long time until, as you said, it will require a long time of testing and seeing how these work out, because it's also country-based. Like in the US, it's much stricter. And then there's countries that are really opening their arms for crypto businesses, like Dubai, Gibraltar, Switzerland, with Zug. They already have quite good systems in place. So essentially, this would mean us as a company moving to one of those jurisdictions on the long run and operating from there. And if certain countries would not allow business with yield nodes, we would unfortunately have to close those people out from our project, because it would be against the law. And yeah, we will adapt to the rules. We will play by the rules, but it doesn't mean that we necessarily, agree with them. So it will all depend on the future and what is truly being implemented and coming, and what is being scrapped right away because it didn't work out.
So looking forward, how sustainable is the current yield from yield nodes? If we look like maybe 1, 2, or maybe even 5 years down the road, how sustainable is the current yield?
That's a good question, Roger. It's very hard to assess, because what you can do is you can take the history of yield nodes, and you can see that for the past 3 years, we managed to make, I believe, now we're close to 9% monthly overall, if you look at the past 3 years. And Bitcoin still, through these years, it had an uptick, and it had also a downfall. Like we reached a bull cycle in these years, and now in the bear market. And still through the bear market, we managed to do some good numbers. So it's essentially, we think it will do good yields if at some point a bull market is coming back, at some point during the time that there's more optimism in the market. It doesn't necessarily need to be a super bull run, a big sized run, but there needs to be some optimism coming back so that we can sustain the current yields. Else the yields will drop further down, and we will keep paying yields as long as it makes sense. And in the worst case, we'll just play it safe, and lock the funds up and pay the investor back their money in case there's no yields to be gotten, whatever rabbit we pull out, Urs pulls out of the hat, so to speak. So it really depends.
So just to get that clear, what you stated at the last sentence is that, let's say there are no more yields. At some point it dries up, then you freeze the yields and you pay back the customers their investment. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it depends really what can be done. Like if for instance, in our last audit, we do regular audits, like twice a year is our goal, to show that we are really generating profits and not paying people from just collected money, which would essentially be the definition of a Ponzi scheme. And we generate more money. And in the last audit, we have shown to the 10 auditors that were 32% over collateralized, meaning we had 32% more value in our coins that was needed to pay out everyone should we sell. And we are constantly striving to be over that 100%. Like if we would go lower, we would be in a hole, we would be underwater. And this is never a situation that we want to be in. So should we reach that point, we would freeze the assets and then take further action. For instance, we would pay out people step by step, or we would reduce the yields, or even in case if it would be really needed, we would even allocate losses to accounts just in case, so that everyone can live with the money. Because yield notes, as I said it before, we are not magicians. We cannot make money appear, but we can manage the company ethically. This is important to us, that people do not need to fear that we would be departing with the money. We would be just paying what is possible and find a solution that would be at the best interest of our investors. This is like the top company, how you say, the highest priority in the company, to keep the investor money safe.
And is it as plain and simple as this, is that yield notes will perform well in the future as long as A, the currency has viable use cases, and B, there is a supply and demand.
Exactly.
And of course,
there's a market for it.
Yeah, there's a market for it. And of course, crypto remains interesting. Blockchain technology remains interesting, when more people are entering the market, which eventually also means, of course, more investors coming to yield notes, new currencies coming to yield notes, more projects, maybe even step into existing larger blockchains such as Ethereum that we talked about, that you of course need to investigate. Is it interesting enough?
Exactly.
So the possibility of yield notes going to zero has everything to do with, is crypto going to zero, and are the projects that you're working on, are they all failing, yes or no? That's basically it.
I think you summarized it pretty well. Yeah.
So there are 50 people working at yield notes. Everybody is doing their part on building up the exchanges, building up the projects, and SAPPHIRE is your largest currency. So I can assume a lot of time is going into SAPPHIRE. I also noticed that there is a shop where you can purchase with the SAPPHIRE token. You can purchase vouchers or gift cards, etc. Right? So there is those are examples.
There's utility on SAPPHIRE, yeah.
Yeah, so that's utility. So those are all utilities that you're rolling out to make sure that there is value in the currency and people can use the currency not only to own SAPPHIRE and sell it, and everybody's owning and selling, but also maybe giving it away. So there's a market for it. There's a bigger market for it. So you need to expand on all the utilities in real life. That makes it even more interesting, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. So very interesting, Steve, and thank you for answering all the questions. So should I just go all in on yield notes then?
That sounds very alluring for us, but you probably shouldn't, because as said, yield notes is still very risky as a project, and you always should diversify your assets. You probably know best, and to put them, like, we see yield notes as part of a portfolio, which is high risk but also high reward. So you should, if you can, plant a seed, invest a little bit that you're comfortable with, and that should, like by a rule of thumb in investing, is you should never put any money that is impacting your lifestyle. Saying like, if you over-invest with a sum that you're not comfortable with or that is changing the way you live, then it's a definite no. And also, if you're a person that is very worried about money and you cannot sleep at night anymore, essentially, because you do not know what's going on because you're too worried of losing money, that's also a definite no. So we would really, we like you to be part of the Yield Notes family, of course, and we welcome it, but it should be with an amount of money that you're comfortable with. And in the worst case, which God forbid should not happen, but could happen, to lose, just as a final reminder. So never put all your eggs in one basket. This is a saying that cruises around the net for already very long time, but it's still true. It's still true. You should really diversify into a few companies, and we would like to be one of those companies.
Yeah. What is maybe one more thing to look out for in 2022, looking at Yield Notes, development wise, or what is a takeaway for people like we are doing something very awesome?
Okay, I think our biggest project is the partnership with the Sao Tome and Principe Island, that they are going to take over our coins, and that we are going to be allowed to use our coins in their economy, and that we are allowed to build our projects and use cases out on the island, which will be solar energy and sustainable farming, and then use our coins, and these coins will be legally interfaced into the country's how do you call it, the framework, the legal framework will be made there to accommodate us, and which is a really big step. It's a small democracy, it's a small island, but it's the first big use case where we can demonstrate that a coin economy can work better than the fiat economy. And this would be the first step. If we're successful in this, and this I discussed with the minister president on my latest travels there, I told him, which is different, most of the people that come to such a island they want to take resources from it. And I told him, we want to be different because you are like our lighthouse project. We want to bring a better life for the people that are living on the island because the general population is very poor. We want to bring cheaper energy than the diesel energy that you're having. We want to bring clean farming so that the island remains the tropical paradise that it is. And if we are successful, first of all, we need to push ourselves. It's a gargantuan project. If we are successful in this, not only will the world notice, but also we can sell. Our motivation is that if it can work in a small on a small island, we can sell this idea to other governments. It will strengthen our economy, and our coins will gain wide adoption. And this is our motivation. We need you to become better, and therefore we will bring our assets, our knowledge, and our projects here, and we're going to try our hardest to make life for the island better. And this was I believe it was a pitch that kind of convinced him, because this is really what's behind it. We don't want the oil, we don't want to build hotels for mass tourism. We want really to improve the lives. And this is going to be probably the biggest event that we have planned for next year. Like, this is bigger than the electricity and bigger than the other projects. And it's a first, because the only things where I know that someone has reached such an agreement is El Salvador, of course, which you know, with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And in Vanuatu, the Satoshi Island, which is also powered by Bitcoin. So we are essentially number 3, and we are going to try to make the most of it next year when we start.
Thank you so much, Steve. And I think it's amazing how blockchain technology can impact real lives and offer real utility and value for people to also live a better life and use it as their economy or part of the economy. So thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And
thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, and looking forward to talk to you again in the future. So thank you, Steve. It's important to realize that this is a high risk investment. With such high yields, you have to understand it's a very high risk. So make sure if you invest into Yield Notes, you invest with money that you can afford to miss. Okay, it's important to realize that. And if you want to make an account on Yield Notes, you can use the URL in the pinned comment. And also I added a link directly to Yield Notes where you can learn a lot more from Yield Notes themselves. So let me know what you think of the video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you don't want to miss any future content, make sure that you press the bell. And again, leave a comment down below. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.